Good morning and welcome to United Way for Southeastern Michigan's virtual town hall on the 2020 census. My name is Dr. Dershawn Brown and I will be your moderator for today's town hall. Today we will hear from United Way's President and CEO, Dr. Darian Hudson, and Kerry Ebersole Singh, the Michigan's statewide census director. For those watching live, please leave your questions in the Q&A chat box, which you will find by clicking the question mark at the top right corner of your screen. The last 10 minutes of today's town hall are reserved for questions, and we will do our best to get through each and every one. Now I would like to welcome United Way's President and CEO, Dr. Darian Hudson, to say a few words.
Thank you, Dershawn, and good morning. Just so happy to have you all join us here today for this very important topic. We are glad that you're joining us for another town hall on the 2020 census. This is just one installment of a series of town halls that we are providing to connect you with the information and resources needed to weather this crisis. To see our previous town halls on unemployment insurance, water and utility assistance, and access to food resources, please visit unitedwaysem.org/virtual-town-halls. The website is also included in the Q&A chat box. The census impacts so many areas of our work and the people United Way serves, from funding for nutrition programs, for Head Start programs, and for our public libraries. It is essential that every person in our community completes the census, and I cannot stress that enough, given what is happening around us. Completing the census is everything. That's why we are so thrilled to have with us today Kerry Ebersole Singh, the Michigan Statewide Census Director, to provide us with information and resources regarding the census. Kerry has more than 20 years of expertise in national, state, and local politics issues and government affairs. Previous to this position, Kerry was the CEO of Persuasion Link, LLC, a Michigan-based public affairs firm, and has served as the Michigan Director and Senior Advisor to the Energy Foundation States and Regions Program, working to accelerate the transition to the clean energy economy. She has also formerly served as the Director of Get Out the Vote for Obama for America and as a Regional Director for the Service Employees International Union, SEIU. Personally, Kerry, I just want to say thank you for your service. She has a Bachelor's of Arts in Political Theory and Constitutional Democracy from Michigan State University's James Madison College. And we are so grateful to Kerry for being here with us today to share this important information on the 2020 census. And with that, I would like to now turn it over to Kerry Ebersole Singh, who's going to share this important information with us today. Thank you for being here with us, Kerry.
Wonderful, and thank you so much for having me. And it is a very important topic, and I prepared some slides that I will be sharing with you. And I'm probably going to go as quickly as I can so we have as much time as possible for questions. So with that, it's been, this is a bright spot in terms of how our state is doing as it relates to the 2020 census compared to many of the other challenges. But I always like to start with why is this important? I want to make sure that everyone understands that there are real tangible impacts, including how much federal money comes into Michigan based on our census. You can see here there's nearly $30 billion annual, that's an annual number, and that helps support health programs like Medicaid, Medicare, children's health care insurance, block grants for prevention and treatment of substance abuse, housing programs, school programs, and the list goes on and on and on. So this is from George Washington University. If you want to see the top 55 programs that are supported by the census or that are impacted by the census, you need to check that out. I think the other thing that I would mention too, obviously we've been combating COVID-19 and it has been quite the battle for our state, but if you remember, Michigan did receive some ventilators from the Federal Strategic Stock Fund, and guess what? That was in part based on our population. So again, showing how important this is to our state. The other piece is, of course, political representation, and political not in the partisan sense, but political in our voice in the federal congressional process. So congressional seats are allocated based on our population count. They are allocated amongst all the states based on population. You'll see currently this map that you're looking at, we don't have 13 seats, we have 14 today, but we are predicted to lose 1 seat after this year's census. Now, there's only one thing we can do to be in the fight to save our 14 congressional seats, and that is to make sure we get a complete count. We can't control how Texas does in their count. We can't control Florida or North Carolina. We can only control ensuring that we get a complete count. And I know we probably have a lot of different feelings about things happening in Washington, D.C., but I assure you, we are better off with 14 members of Congress than 13 participating in the policy making and appropriations process. Response rates. So here is some good news, but yet we have some work to do, of course. So you'll see this graph is the 2010 final self-response rate. We had a 67.7%. That was actually 18th in the country. And then from there, the Census Bureau did a calculation that created what the actual participation rate was, which was 78% in 2010, which was 5th in the nation. Now, currently, for our self-response, we are at 67.2%. We are 4th in the nation, and you can see we are about 0.5 away from our self-response in 2010. So this is quite remarkable, because even if you look at the other states in the top 10, they are at least 2 percentage points behind where they performed or their response rates in 2010. So we are leading the pack in regards to closing that gap in our 2010 self-response. So that's some good news. And then you can see also some of the national response averages that, right now in 2020, we are over that national average by 7.2%. So with that, that's a little bright spot. Here is just a snapshot of Michigan, and you will see this is just a county map of how response rates are coming in. The darker the blue, the better. And you can see Oakland and Macomb. Macomb's actually the top county. Actually, Livingston and Macomb are both top counties in our state. Oakland is in the top 5 as well. They are doing very well, but you can see that Wayne County, we have some work to do. Wayne County, both the city of Detroit and some of the surrounding communities have had lower response percentages to this point. So we'll talk a little bit more about how we can help that. But you'll see too in northern Michigan, just for perspective, there's a lot of orange up there, which is not great. I'll give you 2 reasons for that. They're in a different type of U.S. Census Bureau enumeration region. It's called update leave. And because of COVID, those operations were paused by the U.S. Census Bureau and just restarted last week. So we are expecting those numbers to come up. I think the other piece is, there's a number of second homes in northern Michigan, and that also impacts the percentage of folks that have responded. Work to date, this is where I'm going to go really fast because I want to get to questions. This is a little snapshot of, we have a state complete count committee the governor has appointed. There's over 60 members of that committee, and we have worked with them and a team both inside the state of Michigan as well as a consultant team to help support our communications effort. So you'll see some of the earned media. We did virtual town halls like this. The Lieutenant Governor, Secretary of State, and Attorney General joined us. We did them around the state. The first 3 were actually, we were on location in person, but obviously once the COVID and coronavirus situation took hold, we moved those to virtual town halls. We've done some statewide press conferences, generating a ton of media, and you can see the media reach is really, we want to build awareness and motivate folks to fill out that census. Additional metrics, again, happy if you all share these slides, if someone, and obviously this will be on the website, but these are just some additional response impressions and other metrics we've been following on our program. And everything we've done is tailored. Obviously, there's a lot of different communities in this state that have various concerns, and I think, generally speaking, we want to make sure that we raise awareness and motivate folks to fill out the census, but folks in northern Michigan recognizing that we get roads funding as well as some healthcare funding, and other areas of state may be more interested in the education funding, for instance, to give a couple snapshots. And there's also a variety of different questions from different communities around the state that we want to be responsive to. We've also partnered with the Michigan Municipal League Foundation and issued 46 community grants. And outside of that, statewide, we've done 4 rounds of mail representing 3.9 million pieces of mail that have hit households. The text messaging campaign as well, doing 4 rounds of messages, so that'll be around 2.4 million text messages. Obviously, we've worked with a number of the local communities to build out their programs to engage their residents, but with COVID, it's been a particular challenge because of our social distancing. So we've had to move into doing more digital and like text messaging and outreach to help engage folks. So that's a little bit about our work with the Michigan Municipal League. And then we also have, we've been helping support a number of constituency calls, again, promoting information and awareness and supplying materials, as well as local complete count committees around the state. You'll be amazed, there's nearly 200 local complete count committees around the state. They can be organized by county, municipality, township, village, you name it. So there's a hodgepodge of patchwork, I should say, of local complete count committees around the state that we've also tried to engage. The last piece, and there's still time to be involved in this, is we are promoting a volunteer phone bank, both 20 by 20. This is 20 friends. We're looking to make 20 calls, engage folks, ensuring that they've completed their census. We also have a virtual phone bank, and that means you can do this from your home. You just click a link and they'll start supplying you phone numbers as well as a script. And we obviously supply all the recruitment and training. So this can be, I'll give you an example, DTE has a number of employees that are calling as they've been practice social distancing and at home through their whole service area. So we have a list that is local to them in their service area. And we work with a local complete count or other organizations to create a list that they would like to call into, whether that's geographic driven or demographically driven. My last piece is the updated census timeline. Obviously I've mentioned COVID a few times. There has been an impact to the census timeline, and they've essentially extended the census timeline until October 31st. So that means you have until October 31st to submit your census. I do not want you to wait. I want you to do it today if you haven't already. And we want to make our biggest push. I'll highlight another date on here, August 11th. August 11th is at the bottom there, non-response follow-up. That is the U.S. Census Bureau's door-to-door operation. So if you don't want your dogs to bark or your dinner to be interrupted, fill out your census form before August 11th. Or as we continue to practice social distancing, let's make sure we get those census forms in, because there's a lot at stake for our state, and we don't want to leave any resources on the table. So get those census forms in. So this is just a little bit how you can get involved. Right now, the U.S. Census Bureau is still accepting job applications and hiring for that non-response follow-up phase. So if you have someone that is interested in a position, go to that website on the screen there and fill out an application. You can also find partner materials at our website, michigan.gov. /census 2020. There's also some videos on there which I wanted to include in this presentation, but unfortunately I'm not the most technically capable when it comes to PowerPoint. Lastly, there's some materials, sample social media posts, newsletters, etc. That you can just take from and use within your organization or neighborhood association. And then of course we want you to help spread the word. And I'm going to highlight here, we actually are going to have a state day of action next week on June 17th. June 17th, big day. We're going to get a number of materials out and really make what they call a thunderclap. They've been doing this in different parts of the city. So on social media, we want to really create a huge echo chamber. We want to just spread the word, and we're plugging in also to a national day of action, which is Our Census, Our Power. So it's a really important time for our communities. There's a lot at stake for our state, and please join us June 17th for our big thunderclap, and we'll be getting materials out actually later today or tomorrow. So with that, I think I'm going to kick it back to Dr. Brown to take us into question and answer, and hopefully I didn't take too long here.
No, not at all. Thank you so much, Kerry. We will now begin the Q&A. If you have not yet done so, please put your questions in the Q&A box. Again, you can locate that by clicking on the question mark in your top right-hand corner. So our first question is, what are the average participation rates for Detroit?
Yes. So right now the city is at about, I believe, 46.9%. So when you compare them to other large cities, right now Flint and Detroit are really head to head. They've been tied, at least yesterday, they were tied in their response rates. And unfortunately, those numbers for cities their size, comparing them nationally, they're at the lower end. Now, hope is still alive. I think we can do a heck of a job to engage those communities. I think the city of Detroit, led by the local complete count committee with the mayor's office, has been doing a really phenomenal job. And let's not kid ourselves. We've had a number of challenges coming into this census. And then also increased by our battle with coronavirus. So I would just say that, there are a couple of things the city of Detroit's looking at doing. Is they're going to do a door-to-door operation to remind folks to fill out their census forms starting June 22nd. They too are going to be participating in this thunderclap next week on June 17th. They've had virtual town halls and are working to engage communities across the city. I'd also mention, for those that may have friends or that may themselves be living in some of those multi-unit housings in the city of Detroit, that has been a particular challenge for completing census numbers. So if you know any folks down there, or if you yourself are living in that Woodward corridor or out Jefferson, get your building to fill out your census form. That would be a big help.
Great, thank you, Kerry. Our second question is, where should I count children in a joint custody arrangement?
Yes, so the guidance there is always where the children spend most of their time. So if it is a slight difference in the division on that separation, then wherever they spend the most amount of time is where they should be counted. If they are counted, if it's a 50-50 joint custody situation, then we'd encourage the parents to, pick, who's going to complete that census form for the kids.
Okay, great. Thank you. Another question regarding the census itself, the document. Is it a complex document to complete, or is it something relatively easy? Because I know that that can be a tipping block for some and saying, oh, I know it's long. I don't have time to complete this, but enlighten.
I'm so glad you asked this. This is one of the most important things I want to convey to everyone today. Guess what? The census form this year is only 9 questions, okay? It's only going to take you a few minutes to get that form in. And I know what the follow-up question is. What is asked on the census? So let me tell you. Name, age, gender, race, ethnicity, how many people are staying with you on April 1st, your relationship to them, phone number, and if you own or rent your home. That's it. There's no financial information asked. It's only 9 questions. And if you recall, let me go back to the numbers. The budget that is affected, $30 billion into our state. That's roughly $3,000 per person. Multiply that's $30,000 over 10 years. A family of 4 is $1.2 million over 10 years. So this is the easiest way you can help your community today, is to fill out those 9 questions, get that census form in, and help support our state.
Great. Thank you so much for explaining that. I know that that's a huge question that we get often on the 211 line regarding the census. So again, thank you. Next question, should non-U.S. citizens respond to the 2020 census?
Absolutely. We want everyone living in the state of Michigan, any resident, anyone living here, you need to fill out that census form.
Good, good, good. Now, will filling out the 2020 census impact whether I receive a stimulus check or not?
No, they are not necessarily connected, but if you look back to the funding that I had mentioned, it is connected to that funding. So it's a really important piece to, again, support our communities and those programs in our state.
Okay. And another question, how do I avoid online scams associated with the 2020 census?
Yeah, great question, because, that's one thing I didn't touch on either. So 2020, this is our first online census since 1790. Of course, I don't think they had internet back then, but at any rate, we have our first online census, but you can also fill it out through a toll-free phone number, or if you have yet to fill it out, you probably received a paper form in the mail. So there are 3 ways you can fill out the census form. And avoiding online scams is a very important question. I think the biggest thing I can stress to you is what is not asked on the census. No one should be asking for credit card information or your social security number. Okay, that is a red flag, and we'd encourage you to report that at our michigan.gov/census 2020 site. We are working very closely with the Attorney General of the state and following any potential scams that could be in operation around the state. But no financial information. Don't give any of that information up under the guise that it's for the census.
Great, thank you. Question that kind of piggybacks with that one is, how do you know if you're safe when you're talking to someone who visits your home regarding the 2020 census?
Yeah, another excellent question. The U.S. Census Bureau workers or census takers that will be out in your communities will have identification displayed. They will also likely have a messenger bag that says U.S. Census Bureau on it. They'll have a federal ID. They are all Department of Commerce, U.S. Census Bureau employees. So they will have identification reflecting that. And I would also say that, again, if you complete your census form online by phone or through that paper form, no one's going to come to your house. So again, that's the most important thing you can do. The census takers only come to your house if you have not completed the census form. So get that information in, and then we don't have to worry about it.
Okay. Can a paper form be requested? Some, even in southeastern Michigan, cannot do online or phone.
Yeah. So everyone, again, anyone who has not responded has received a paper form in the mail. And if not, you can call the Census Bureau and remind them that you have yet to receive one, and see if they will be sending another one out. As the U.S. Census Bureau has been altering their operations due to COVID-19, they are considering doing another mailing with a census form. But everyone in the state should have received a census form, a paper form, by the mail or through the mail, or dropped off at their house in that update leave section.
Okay, so we have about a minute left. I'm going to try and get through one final question. How are foster children counted in the foster home?
They are counted in the address that they are staying. So they are counted in their foster home.
Great. And can you leave us with the phone number for the Census Bureau?
Yes. Actually, of course, I don't have that right in front of me. So we'll post that, or I'll get that to you. But I will tell you this. The census is critical to our state and communities. It's the easiest way to help our communities. And it's critical and convenient. It's so convenient this year. So let's not leave any resources on the table, and let's get those census forms in.
Great. Thank you so very much, Kerry. Well, that's all the time we have for questions today. So I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Hudson now.
Thank you so much, Kerry, and thank you, Dershawn, for moderating. This was so informative, and I have to, just because one more question did pop up, and usually we don't do this, but I would rather ask the question than make my final comment. So if you would, Kerry, we do have a question. What if a family member is in the military or is living abroad?
Okay, so they are actually counted from their home, the base that they are deployed from. So from the location or base that they are deployed from is where those service members are counted.
Okay. Thank you for that. So I appreciate it. So very quickly, I just wanted to share with all of you, if you're experiencing a need, if you have additional questions, our 211 helpline is available to you 24/7. You can also go to unitedwaysem.org/211. There you can find all types of resources. All you need is your zip code, and you're able to find resources for utilities, for diapers, for food pantries, and the like. You just need to have that information available to you. So we hope you found today's conversation informative with Kerry Ebersole Singh. We most certainly did, and we're so grateful that she's here. Remember, there's a big kickoff next week, June 17th. August 11th is when we really want to make sure everybody has their census done, because if not, that's when we start to do doors. And so please take this seriously, and remember, this is how we are all represented. And so next week, we are pleased to have a conversation with Oakland County Executive Dave Coulter. This is going to be focused on the Oakland County coronavirus response. It will be Tuesday, June 16th, 2020 at 3 p.m. So we know that's a little bit of a break from when we normally do our town halls, but we hope you will join us. There's been a significant response from Oakland County. We have a partnership now that's focused on administering $10 million in grants, and we want to make sure that you all are hearing the most up-to-date information from our county executive Coulter. Also, if you have any other questions about previous town halls, please visit our website at unitedwaysem.org/virtual-town-halls. And so with that, everyone, thank you so much. Stay healthy and stay safe, and we'll see you soon.